Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
I'll lock you to the 16th A bit.
Sixteenth A or B, sir?
16th A bit. So you see the calc here, 16th A, calculate the effective resistance of the following combination of resistances and the voltage drop across each resistance when a potential difference of 60 volt. 60 volts is applied between the points A and B. So first we have to find the resistance across the terminals A and B. Then we have to find the voltage drop across each resistance when 60 volts is applied between the points A and B. So what is the effective resistance you got? First you write on a paper. So here each answer any four questions.
8.25.
Oh, wait. What is the what is the
Sir,
resistance you got?
is it 8.25?
Just wait, I will connect the speakers.
8.25.
Okay, I have the answer. Wait. So RAB is 12 ohms. You have to get to 12 ohms.
11.9.
No, you are going to wait. Let me
So
see the values
12
once
only.
again. 3 6 365 365. Yeah.
So 12 only.
So you have to get 12 ohms. Once again check. See here, 3 and 6 are connected in parallel, and this combination is in series with the 18 ohms. And this combination, let me draw here. See here. So this combination is in parallel with 5 ohms, and this entire combination is in series with 8 ohms. The answer is 12 ohms. RAB. The resistance across the terminals A and B is 12 ohms. Anyone got 12 ohms?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Very good. What is your roll number?
84.
Okay, anyone got 12 ohms? Shall I show the answer? One, see here. So you can respond in the chat box. You can post your answers in the chat box. RAB. Okay. I got the answer. Now tell me the equivalent resistance. RAB. How many of you got 12 ohms? Please respond. You can respond in the chat box also. So I will show the answer. See here, 3 and 6 are in parallel. So just for simplicity, for the sake of understanding, I have written like this. See here. So this I can combine. See here, I can find the equivalent resistance of 6 ohms and 3 ohms and 6 ohms. 6 and 3 are connected in parallel. So 6 and 3 are connected in parallel. 3 and 6 are connected in parallel. And this combination, so here I kept in brackets, and this combination is in series with 18 ohms. So I can add directly plus 18. And this combination, see here, this combination is in parallel with 5 ohms. So this combination is in parallel with 5 ohms. And this entire combination, see here, this entire combination this entire combination is in series with 8 ohms. So I have put this in braces and plus 8. So now when you find the equivalent resistance, so let us find the equivalent resistance. So here just for the sake of simplicity, I have written like this RAB. So 3 in parallel with 6. This combination is in series with 18. So directly I put plus, and I kept the square brackets. This combination will be in parallel with 5 ohms, and this entire combination. So here this is first, this is second. This is the second one. So this entire combination is in series with 8. So I put just plus. Series means you can directly add the resistance values. Now here I found the uh, parallel combination of 3 and 6. So 3 and 6, if they are connected in parallel, the equivalent resistance is 2. So how you got to 3 into 6 by 3 plus 6. 3 into 6 by 9, which is equal to 2. So 2 plus 18 is in parallel with the 5. Okay. Next 20. This becomes 20. 20 parallel with 5 in series with 8. So 20 parallel with 5 means 20 into 5 by 20 plus 5. 20 into 5 by 25, which is equal to 4. So here 4 plus 8, 12. Is it clear? If it is clear, is it clear? Do you have any doubts in this? If you have any doubts, please respond. Yeah, I want answer from you. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next, what is the next bit? So next you have to find when a potential difference of 60 volts is applied between the points A and B as shown in figure. So we have to calculate the voltage drop across each resistance. So here voltage drop across 3 ohms, voltage drop across 6 ohms, similarly 5 ohms to 18 ohms, 8 ohms. Like this we have to find the voltage drop across each and every resistance. So first let us find the voltage drop across 8 ohms. Okay, how you are going to get? So voltage drop across 8 ohms is equal to 8 by 12 into 60. Why 8 by 12? So equivalent resistance. Total resistance is, so this equivalent resistance of this combination is, what is the equivalent resistance of this combination? This one. So it is 4 ohms. Okay, this is 4 ohms. So here total voltage is across A and B is 60. So use the voltage division rule. So here, so 8 by 8 plus 4. So how you got 8 by 12 means 8 by 8 plus 4. Okay. Into 60. So 40 volts. So voltage across 8 ohms is 40 ohms. So voltage across 8 ohms is 40 volts. Similarly, find the voltage across 5 ohms. So here it will be, see here. So A and so A, B are connected by resistors 5 ohms and 8 ohms. So we can directly write so the remaining voltage drop will be across 5 ohms. So 60 minus 40, which is equal to 20. Now voltage drop across 18 ohms. So voltage across 5 ohms is 20, means that voltage drops across these resistors also. Here this path is in parallel with 5 ohms. See here, this one. Let us take this as some 3. So this circuit is in a parallel with 5 ohms. So voltage across 5 ohms is equal to voltage across this combination. This combination 3. So 18 by 20 into 20. Is it clear? So why I have taken 18 means, so 18 here. What is the total? 18 plus 2, 20. So 18 by 20 into 20, 18 volts. Next, voltage across 3 ohms is equal to voltage across 6 ohms, which is equal to 60 minus 40 minus 60, or directly you can take. So voltage across 5 ohms is 20. 20 minus voltage across the 18 ohms. 20 minus 18, which is equal to 2 ohms, 2 volts. So RAB is very simple. RAB you can easily find out. So here voltage across each element, each resistor, if you want to find, so you have to use the logic. So next, solve for current in 3 ohm resistance in the circuit shown using the Thevenin's theorem. So you can easily do. So here you must be careful with the polarity. You must be careful with the polarity. Okay. Next we have series RLC. Next, what is mean by balanced load? So balanced load means very simple. The value of a resistance and next reactance must be same in all the 3 loads. The value of that means R by Z must be same for all the 3 loads in the 3-phase load. So if you take any 3-phase load, the value of R by Z is same for all the loads, then it is called as balanced load. The value of Z will be equal. Not only the value of Z, R by Z is also equal. Any doubts in this question paper? Please respond. Are you able to hear my voice? Okay, okay. Now shall I revise unit 3? So before going to unit 3, are you able to see the notes in the, are you able to see the notes? Are you facing any problem with the notes? So the notes is easily open. The notes can be opened in mobile phone or internet, but if you download, you can open in a Foxit reader. Please tell me, are you facing any problem with the notes? Yeah, please respond. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. No, no, sir. Number 87.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, sir means what is the meaning?
No problem with your notes, sir. It's easy.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, shall I revise unit 3 or unit 4?
Three, sir.
Okay, I will revise the unit 3 first. Let us see a transformer. So a transformer is a static piece of equipment used for rising or lowering the voltage of an AC supply with a corresponding decrease or increase in current. So what is the function of a transformer? It is used to increase the voltage or decrease the voltage. After generation, we are going to increase the voltage in order to reduce the transmission losses. So transmission losses can be reduced by transmitting the voltage at high voltage values. Okay, if you transmit the power at high voltage, we can reduce the losses, power transmission losses. That's why we are going to step up the voltage after generation. And once the transmission is done, we are going to step down the voltage and we are going to uh, distribute the power. Where the after distribution again the voltage is stepped down to 230 at our homes and offices. So here the function of a transformer is to rise is used for rising or lowering the voltage of an AC supply. So when the voltage is increased, current reduces. So current reduces. When the voltage is lowered, current increases because input power is equal to output power if the losses are neglected. So the losses will be very less. It will be 2 to 3% of the total power. So here if you take ideal transformer, input power is equal to output power. What is the input power? V1 I1. And what is the output power? V2 I2. So if the losses are neglected, V1 I1 is equal to V2 I2. So if the voltage is increased, current gets reduced and vice versa. So here next coming to this diagram. So what is the so we have the supply and we have the load. So load means the equipment which consumes the power is called as load. Next here this is a transformer. This is the schematic diagram of a transformer, and here you can see the primary winding, secondary winding. So why it is called as primary winding means the winding which is connected to the supply is called as primary winding, and the winding which is connected to the load is called as secondary winding. Now coming to the working principle, with the transformer works on mutual induction principle, or you can tell here like this. So Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So here let us see the statement. When an alternating voltage V is applied to the primary and alternating flux phi is set up in the core, this alternating flux links both the windings and induces EMFs E1 and E2 in them according to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So here this induced EMF is known as statically induced EMF. Why it is called as statically induced EMF means there are no moving parts. There are no moving parts in a transformer. So here the flux is alternating flux. So when alternating flux links with the winding, EMF is induced in the winding. So this induced EMF is statically induced EMF because we have no rotating parts. Is it clear? What is meant by statically induced EMF? We can write down the EMF induced in a transformer is the statically induced EMF. If you want, you can write the working of the transformer. So when an alternating flux links with the winding, EMF is induced in the transformer. Is it clear? So next, now coming to the next one, EMF equation of a single phase transformer. A very important one. So EMF equation of a single phase transformer. So here EMF equation of single phase transformer. Single phase is represented by 1 hyphen phi, means single phase. So EMF equation of a single phase transformer. Is it clear? So here phi is the alternating flux, phi equal to pi m sin omega t, E1 equal to minus n1 d phi by dt. So substitute the expression for phi and do the differentiation with respect to t. So you are going to get this one. So here we are differentiating with respect to t. So differentiate here, phi m is constant, it will come outside. So here dy dt of sin omega t is cos omega t into omega. So finally you are going to get this one. So express omega in terms of frequency. Omega equal to 2 pi f. So what is the omega? Number of revolutions per second. Oh, no, sorry. So omega is the, here, if you see the units of omega. So omega is radian per second. So omega is the angular velocity.
Angular velocity.
Omega is the angular velocity. So its units are radians per second. What is frequency? Number of cycles per second. One cycle equal to 2 pi radians. One cycle equal to 2 pi radians. Okay. So omega equal to 2 pi f. Omega equal to 2 pi f. It is the number of cycles per second, and in one cycle we have 2 pi radians. So omega can be written as omega equal to 2 pi f. Omega equal to 2 pi f. If you have the supply frequency, if you have the frequency, then you can get the omega by 2 pi f. So omega equal to 2 pi f. And here express minus cos omega t in terms of sin omega t. So here this becomes sin omega t minus 90 degrees. So here, what is the maximum value of this one? So first, before going to that, maximum value of sin omega t minus 90 is, what is the maximum value of this is 1. If this is maximum, so even maximum value of E1 is 2 pi f n1 phi f. So this I am going to write as E1m. Now if I want the RMS value is represented with capital E1, which is equal to E1m by root 2. So finally you are going to get 4.44 f n1 phi m. Similarly, you can get E2 equal to 4.44 f n2. So here you can see n2. For E1 you have n1, and for E2 you will be having n2. So E1 by E2 is equal to n1 by n2. So or E2 by E1 is equal to n2 by n1. So here you can see some points here. So what is the transformer action? So it is based on laws of electromagnetic induction. Electromagnetic induction. Here there is no electrical connection between primary and secondary. So here if you see here there is no electrical connection between primary and secondary. So primary and secondary there is no electrical connection. So they are magnetically coupled. So the AC power is transferred from primary to secondary through magnetic flux. There is no change in frequency, that is output power has same frequency as the input power. So the losses that occur in the transformer are core losses, and core losses are divided into eddy current and hysteresis losses. Copper losses occur in the winding due to resistance. So copper losses in the resistance of the winding. So in practice, those are very small. You have already observed in the lab also. So the output power from the secondary is nearly equal to input power in the primary. In other words, a transformer has high efficiency in the order of 96-98%. Okay. So this is about the EMF equation. So let us see the constructional details of a single phase transformer. This is the core type. So you can see here, this is the core type. Core type. First one is the core type. A1 is the core type, and coming to B, so B is the shell type transformer. So here you can see here LV winding is adjacent to core. So half of the LV winding is wound on one limb, another half is wound on the second limb. HV winding is wound over the LV winding, and these windings will be having the insulation. So there will be insulation between the primary and secondary. That means high voltage and low voltage. So this is the actual diagram, whereas this one is the previous one. First, this is the schematic diagram. It will show only the it is used for explanation. This is the schematic diagram, not the actual diagram. This is the actual diagram. The actual construction. This is the actual construction. So here LV is half of the LV is wound on one leg and another half is wound on another leg. Similarly, you can see the HV winding. So half of the HV winding is wound on. See here. While cross section view. This is the, okay. So half of the HV winding. So this is like this. So there will be coil like this. Okay, HV winding. So on the LV winding, you will be having the HV winding. So here, half of the HV winding is on one leg, another half on the other leg. So why we are going to wound this like this means there are two advantages. So first one is we are going to reduce the leakage flux. We are going to reduce the leakage flux. Second one, we are going to reduce the insulation requirement. See here. So adjacent to core, we have the LV winding. So insulation required between the core and the winding is reduced. Next, so adjacent to LV winding, we have the HV winding. So the insulation required between LV and HV can be reduced like this. So why LV is placed first means we can reduce the insulation. Why half of the winding is placed on one leg, another half on the other leg means we are going to reduce the leakage flux. Similarly, this is core type. This is the core type transformer. This is the shell type transformer. So here the flux gets divided into two parts, okay, two equal parts. And here you have LV winding, HV winding, LV winding, HV winding, LV winding. So here these are interleaved windings. Why we are going to do like this means in order to reduce the leakage flux, and why LV is placed adjacent to the core means in order to reduce the insulation requirement. So all these points you can see here. So minimize the amount of insulation required. Next, so all these points are discussed here. Leakage flux. So next BH curve. So here y-axis is B, x-axis here x-axis is H. So y-axis is B, x-axis is H. So BH curve you can see here there is a linear portion from A to B. From B, permeability reduces, and after this knee point, you can see saturation occurs. So even if you increase H, B does not increase due to saturation of the core. And this is very important, BH curve. And this is a permeability, relative permeability versus B. So you can see after some time the B reduces. As B increases, relative permeability reduces. So coming to ideal transformer, here, so why we are discussing about ideal transformer means ideal transformer is easy to understand and the derivations are very easy. So V1 I1 equal to V2 I2. Directly you can write for an ideal transformer. But for a practical transformer, V1 I1 will be greater than V2 I2. So for ideal transformer, V1 I1 is equal to V2 I2 because no winding resistance, no leakage flux, no iron losses, and zero magnetizing current. So here this is the schematic diagram again. So from the EMF equation, so here you know that current lags the voltage by 90 degrees. So if you take an inductor, current lags the voltage by 90 degrees. So if the current lags the voltage by 90 degrees, here it is shown like this. Next, flux will be in phase with IM. Flux will be in phase with magnetizing current. Flux and current will be in phase. So here this is the ideal transformer with IM. That means fourth point we are violating. So fourth point, see here, zero magnetizing current. But actually there will be magnetizing current that we are going to consider now. So first, ideal transformer does not exist, but for the sake of understanding it is useful. Next, we are going to eliminate one by one. That means we are going to consider all these one by one. So first, instead of zero magnetizing current, we are considering some amount of current is required to set up the flux. Okay. Fourth point we are considering. That means instead of zero, we are considering the magnetizing current. So let us take some magnetizing current IM. Okay, and this is the flux. When you have an alternating flux, EMF is induced in the winding. E1 is the EMF induced in the primary. E2 is the EMF induced in the secondary. And RMS values. So these are the RMS values. So V1, E1, E2, and E2 equal to. So what about V2? V2 equal to E2 because it is open. So under no load. So here consider an ideal transformer with IM. That means instead of zero magnetizing current, we are considering IM on no load. That is, load is not connected. No load, right? So in this case, so as the load is not connected, you can see here the terminal voltage V2 will be equal to E2. V2 will be equal to E2 because there is no drop in the voltage because it is open. Open means no current. No current means no voltage drop. So terminal voltage will be equal to E2 induced EMF. V2 will be equal to E2. So here V2 and E2 will be same. So this is the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer under no load. Okay. So coming to one of the important short answer question, Lenz law. So the induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. So in the EMF equation you can see here. So in the EMF equation you can see here, the induced EMF is opposite to the cause. That's why we are going to take minus. So what is the cos? dy by dt. So the induced EMF if they ask in the question, what is Lenz law? You can directly write this one. The induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. So the induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. That is the Lenz law. Or simply you can write the induced EMF opposes the cause. That's all. The induced EMF opposes the cause. Or you can write down the direction of induced EMF is opposite to the cause. The direction of induced EMF is opposite to the direction of its cause. The induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. So here you can take here ideal transformer. For ideal transformer, E1 equal to V2, E1 equal to V1, V2 equal to V2. So as there is no voltage drop. So E2 by E1 equal to K. E2 by E1 equal to V2 by V1 equal to M2 by M1 is equal to K. Next, for ideal transformer, V1 I1 equal to V2 I2. So I2 by I1 is equal to V1 by V2 is equal to 1 by K. So here the voltage ratio is equal to turns ratio, whereas the current ratio is inverse to the turns ratio. So now coming to the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer. See here, I mentioned ideal transformer. So what is the ideal transformer? No winding resistance, no leakage flux, no losses, and magnetizing current is equal to 0. Okay. So phasor diagram of an ideal transformer for inductive load. So here we have the flux. Flux is taken as reference. V1 is the supply voltage, and E2 is the induced EMF. Now I2 is the current. Now I1 is equal to I2 dash. I1 is equal to I2 dash. So I will make it clear, and once again I will send this. Okay. This page I am going to replace. Okay. This is I1. See here. I1 is equal to I2 dash. So you are going to know about I2 dash. Okay. So what is I2 dash? I2 by K. No, sorry. Here. So I1 is equal to K into I2. I2 dash is equal to K into I2. So I2 dash is equal to K into I2, which is equal to I1. Or you can take I1 is equal to K into I2. So how you got this one means, so you know this one. What is I1 by I2? I1 by I2 is equal to K. Or simply I2 by I1 is equal to 1 by K. I2 by I1 is equal to 1 by K. So then I1 is equal to K into I2. I1 is equal to K into I2. This you can write I2 dash. What is K into I2? I2 dash. So I1 is equal to I2 dash. What is I2 dash? I2 dash is equal to K into I2. Or simply if you want you can write only I1. So as you are belong to PCE, you can directly write I1. So why here inductive load means current lags the voltage. Current I2 is lagging the voltage E2. Okay. Similarly, you can draw opposite direction, but with a change in magnitude. Here E2 is greater than V1. So here I1 will be greater than I2. So based on this, you can go through this problem. So why the transformer is rated in kVA? Why not in kilowatt? So because you are going to see here, there are two types of losses in the transformer: core losses and copper losses. Core losses are proportional to voltage, whereas copper losses or obic losses, I square R. So I square R losses are proportional to current. So the losses are not depending upon the power factor. Okay. So the losses are depending on only the voltage and the current. Core losses are depending upon the voltage, and ohmic losses or copper losses are depending upon the current. The losses are independent of the power factor. That's why as the losses are depending upon the voltage and current, the transformer is rated in VA or kVA. So expressed in VA or kVA and not in kilowatt. So time up. Okay. So join early in the meeting. Today you have joined very late, almost 15 minutes. So if you join early, I will leave on time. Okay. So next class, be ready with the questions. Okay. If you ask the questions, then I will be telling the answers. So it must be interactive. Just now itself, at least now you must be interactive. So let me take the attendance. Number 61, absent. Sixty-one absent, 63 absent,